Well, good morning, friends and followers. It is, let's see, Saturday, July 21st, 2018. It's been a little bit since I shot an update vlog, and I don't have an excuse, but my reasoning behind that is a lot of the tasks I've been doing have been tasks that drag out, like building the porch, and not a lot of progress is made in a day, so there's not much to visually look at. That's really the main reason why. Also, it's been a while because the days of this summer have been going by like hours in the day. It just blip, blip, blip. It seems like every time I turn around, it's another week. I can't believe it's the end of July already. I don't remember June. And for that matter, like the last thing I knew, it was like end of April. And then it was just like poof, all of a sudden here it is, we're almost to August. Summer's flying by. The good news is we are getting stuff done. Still pushing forward as fast as we can because, I requested an extension for our build loan, so that puts us into the first week of October when the bank wants us to be done with the house completely finished. So right now that's the target date. We're looking to move in late September, early October, and roll this puppy into a traditional mortgage. That being said, we still have a long ways to go, so we're plugging away as much as we can. Meanwhile, my family has a farm. We're done first cut hay, so that's good because that's taken up not a lot of time on my part, honestly. But that's something that involves my family, so they're working out in the hay and not on the house. So first cut's done a little early. Yields are down. We had 4,400 bales this year. Last year we had like 5,800, so yields are a little down. We haven't had much rain. But hay season is wrapping up, so I'll be able to put my full attention on the house and be slightly less fragmented with my time. So I've got a lot to share. I think there's been a lot of updates and progress since the last kind of video I shot. I shot snippets here or there, so there's a montage that probably just got released. But anyways, I'll walk through it and explain where we are at. Let's get to it. So I believe one of the last updates I shared, I was stressing about building the deck. Well, my driveway got a little bit bigger, and that's because this pile of LVLs that sat there all winter long has now been used on the porch. Our contractor, Pat, came up and helped frame that up. Let's see, I got a stack of pallets. Anybody need any pallets? I got some pallets. Good for firewood and whatnot. That trailer has scaffolding in it for my father-in-law, ready for siding. Coming around here, I got a little grass starting to grow, finally. It could use a little rain as well. So it's starting to look like a lawn. Last weekend, I guess it was last weekend already, I weed whacked it. Some of the stuff down on the septic hill that was planted last fall was getting kind of tall. It's pretty darn thin. When you look down on it, it doesn't look like much. But when you look across it, it kind of looks like a yard, which is nice. So I weed whacked it, made it look nice and fresh. So that's good. Yard's coming along. Next, as you can see behind me here, we've got the porch. The porch is framed. The porch is done. Yeah, Pat came up and we had a heat wave here in Vermont. We were pushing 96, 98 degrees, and the humidity was also up into the 90s. So we pushed through and nearly killed ourselves. We spent 4 days pounding fluids and taking frequent breaks while we framed up the posts. That was a day. I started with the deck all framed out, so that was the starting point. We spent a day setting the posts and getting them all notched, set in on the concrete and everything. The next day we came back, we set all the beams. So all the beams that go on top of the posts. The third day we set most of the trusses, all the roof trusses. And then the fourth and final day, we put up all the roof sheathing, so all the plywood up on the roof got installed. So now it's really starting to look like that farmhouse that we designed, which is really exciting. The porch is definitely one of the favorite aspects of the house for both me and my wife. So then once we got all that framed up, we installed the drip edge and deck flashing inside. I'll show a close-up of that in a second. And then my dad and I shingled the roof of the porch. And then my father-in-law helped tie in the valley to the existing mudroom roof. That was a bit of a challenge. It's just tricky pulling up existing roof without having to tear into it, getting ice and water shield and then paper and then all the shingles weaved underneath so it looks nice and is effective and doesn't have a water leak. So that was a day last weekend as well, and then we finished up roofing it. So the porch is complete. I just need to get the fascia on, but I'm calling that as part of the trim, which is what I'll be working on next before siding. One kind of cool thing about my yard is that we live in the woods. On a daily basis, when we come up the driveway, we see a bunny rabbit. Frequently in the evenings, we will see deer with their fawns out in the hayfields. Almost every night, about between 7 and 8 o'clock, we can hear the turkeys, which we usually see during the day in my front yard. They like to dig in the fresh sand on the septic hill. And then in the evenings, about 7, 8 o'clock, they come over here and they jump up into the trees to roost for the night. You can hear them and jump up, and that's where they go to sleep. And then you can see the little turklets jump up into the trees as well. They're like the size of a small chicken right now. So deer, turkeys, bunny rabbits were infested with squirrels and chipmunks. There's one yipping at me right here in this pile of rocks. They're on the wood piles, they're in the yard, they're in brush piles, they're out up in the trees. They click and they clatter. I've got a pile of scrap sheathing still next to the shed, and they're hiding out under there. They're everywhere. And there's birds everywhere too. Last week I saw a bird, I can't remember the name of it, a friend told me. It was an all red bird with black wings. It was like this big, and it was just like bright red, something I hadn't really seen before, but that was kind of cool. So it's kind of like we're living in a wildlife park out here. There's tons of animals, wild animals, and it's pretty sweet. And I'm a little surprised that they didn't move when we moved in, and we're here almost every day. Banging around with hammers and stuff, but it doesn't seem to affect them. They just keep chirping away and digging in the sand and roosting in the trees, so that's pretty cool. I'll try to get some snippets of them, but I gotta swap onto a long lens, and usually when I see them I'm in the middle of a project, so that doesn't happen. But I promise, one of these days I will get some nice wildlife footage for you. All right, here I got something to show you that a lot of you, I'm sure, have not seen. This is my septic hill, where our mound system is, so it's all sand. This little pit right here, that's where the turkeys come in and take a sand bath. One there, one there, one right there. I know there's another couple over there as well. One of the projects I whipped off this spring was I built a couple of raised beds for Kylie, and she planted a few things. This one is full of glads and another flower I can't remember, and they're coming along pretty good, which is kind of nice. The rest of her garden kind of got left and abandoned because she got busy working on the house. But this bed of glads is coming along well. Sorry about that sun. Crank that puppy down. So this is a bed of glads. The turkeys like to walk through it as well, which makes us realize next year we need to put some fencing around it. if she wants successful things. They don't seem to bother the glads, which is nice. Meanwhile, she planted stuff over here and it's devoured. We've got one little potato plant just plugging along, and the rest of the bed has been completely devoured by probably the squirrels that live in this brush pile behind me. I went away for a week in the end of June, and while I was gone, Mom and Dad painted my shed. Nice barn red, made from recycled paint that's available here in Vermont, which is pretty sweet. So that's a plus. Yeah, shed's painted. I need to touch up underneath the eaves yet. Again, that's another project that's not quite finished. And I actually just forgot, we still need to shingle the shed with the extra shingles we've got left over from the house, and now that the porch is done. So, shingling the shed, painting the underside of the eaves that they didn't quite finish up, and then that's done. Done messing with sheathing. Got to pull out the stuff that's still good for something. That's because that's all scrap, and then it can be taken to the dump to be recycled. All that over there is kind of 2x4s that can be used for something still. They're of decent size, and then got a scrap pile of trim that's going to grow this weekend. Scrap pile of asphalt shingles as well. So all those will be brought to the drop-off facility in Williston, where they get recycled. I think the shingles get used for roads, and the plywood, I don't know what they do with it, but most of it at least is not going to landfill, so that's a plus. I'm sure I told you a while back that I got all the exterior trim installed all around the windows. The corner boards is what I'm going to work on next. So all the window trim is complete, which is nice. So over here in this stack of stuff, under the tarp is all of our siding, white vinyl siding. And then I've got the boards for the corner trim. And then all these boards is for freeze board and skirt board that will go up under the eaves and along the base of the house. It's a really nice look that a lot of old farmhouses have, is that little extra trim detail. We thought about it, we kind of wanted to do it. We're out of money, so we weren't going to do it. But it's not something you can add later, really. And vinyl is lasting longer and longer, so it's not like we're going to be replacing it in 15 or 20 years, realistically, which would give us an opportunity to upgrade. So my father-in-law just sold his boat, so he said he would understand and appreciate the amount of look that trim would give the house. So he actually sponsored that last stack of trim, which will be for up above and down below. So that's coming soon as well, so that's kind of exciting. Back up under the porch, one thing we knocked off last weekend was building these stairs off the front of the porch, so that is wonderful. We got the second set of stairs framed up, but not quite installed yet because I needed more tread boards. The stack of lumber I had last weekend was 2x8s, and I thought they were 2x6s, which we needed. So Dad took those back for me, got those returned, and now I've got a stack of 2x6s so I can finish up the treads on these stairs. So that's something I'm going to whip off today. The next thing I'm going to do is work on the steps that go into the mudroom door, the primary front steps. So I'm going to work on that today. I think that's mostly updates for the outside. Nope, I forgot one. I also coated the bottom edge of the zip sheathing here. That was exposed, so water splashing down and back up could rot the underside of the wall. So I coated that. This is Zip Liquid Flash, or Zip 2.0 they call it. It's kind of a fancy rubber, it's kind of like rubber, it's kind of tar-like. I put it on with a putty knife and a finger with my glove. Comes in a caulking tube at like 20 bucks a piece, so it's pretty costly stuff. I used 4, I think, to go all the way around the perimeter of this house. And I just kind of overlapped it a little bit. I used a masking tape to give a nice edge on the concrete. It took me a good part of the afternoon. Kylie went around and kind of went above and beyond, and filled some of the nail holes, ones that were particularly overshot. or left a flake where there wasn't any green protection. Figured it wouldn't hurt. I've seen some people on YouTube are doing that now. It's kind of an above and beyond step. Zip says you don't have to cover the nails, but it's definitely not going to hurt, and we had a little extra. So she went around and did the bottom where she could reach. She's much quicker with the putty knife than I am, especially after after doing all the mud in the house. So that's what all the little black spots are on the house, is it's liquid flashing. It's particularly useful for areas like this, where we've got this is where the propane tank is going to be. So she was able to goop around here and completely seal that. That would be hard to flash with tape or something else. So that's really what it's good for right there. Hard to reach areas. But that's what these spots are, is liquid flashing around the bottom and on some of the nails. Now ready to go inside, see some progress in there? Well, here we are inside the house, and I am happy to share that mudding is done on the first floor. And she went around, sanded everything, and touched up a few spots, and she's calling it done. She's had enough, and it looks pretty darn good. So mudding is done on the first floor. So finishing drywall happens in like 3 stages. You first have to set the tape over all the seams. So you lay down a little mud, put a little tape on it. Next step is you coat that tape with more mud, so it's layered. Then it gets a third coat that flares it out wider. So you set the tape, you cover the tape, and then you flare out the seams so it's nice and smooth. And then you can sand it or scrape it with your knife, and then touch up any low spots after that. So that's kind of the monotonous task of drywall finishing in real short. So next, Kylie's working upstairs to get the stairway section done. Then we're gonna tape off the upstairs so that can be dusty and dirty. Clean up down here, and then we can actually paint the first floor, which is really exciting. That's another big chapter and a big page to turn. So, which is good, because this next week they're calling for rain. We haven't had much rain at all this summer, which has been good for my outside projects. But that means it's good that A, we need rain, and B, I have something that we can work on inside. I haven't touched a putty knife. And I'm okay with that. But first floor is done mudding, which is great. It needs to be vacuumed and chunks of mud scraped off the floor and all that cleaned up and picked up before we change gears and paint. So when the mudding looks good, it should be a smooth and uniform transition all the way across all the seams and across all the screw holes. Which a lot of this on the walls is getting pretty close. But as you can see, there's still some ceiling work to do up here. Here you can actually see there's a 4-way corner, which is not supposed to happen, but with a couple of amateur drywall hangers, and this is the floor we started on, so lesson learned, which makes a particularly tricky area to finish. But as you can see, the seams over here, there's still some definition to it. You can see the tape, so that needs to be kind of scraped, sanded, and get another coat there. Same with over here in the corners. You really shouldn't see the tape. If you see the tape, the paint doesn't stick to it good, and it will give it a funny texture. So that needs to be all covered up. But you know, everything has been set, which is good, and we're well over the hump up here as well. Unfortunately, I need to shop back up here again because the floor is covered in little tiny granules of black sand from shingles, because this is where we were cutting shingles and carrying them upstairs and passing them out the window for the porch roof. So the porch roof is complete, which is a big achievement off of my to-do list. Let's see, so we got the drip edge, we got the paper, I taped flashed underneath the paper between the transition of the wall to the roof deck, and then we shingled, we put the ridge cap on, and I've got a piece of metal flashing that'll go from the wall onto the roof there, so we have that yet to do. And then over here you can see where we tied in this roof to the existing roof in this valley. All this is tricky stuff when you don't know what you're doing. Thankfully, I have a dad and a father-in-law who does know what he's doing, and a very gracious contractor who gave up several days in the heat to help us out with this project. So very thankful for to know hardworking men that know what they're doing. And I've learned a lot about roofing this last couple of weeks, and framing a porch, which I guess is a good skill to have. I'm sure you remember seeing a large pile of roof sheathing in here. It's been kicking around since the fall, so that's finally gone because that was for the porch. So that's kind of nice. This room and the master bedroom have freed up a lot of space, which is great. So I think that's all the inside updates I have to share right now. I'm gonna get to work and make it a productive Saturday. So thanks for tuning into this long video of updates. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got something out of it. If you like this video, be sure to like it, subscribe it, and share it with a friend. Thanks, we'll catch you later.